This is Gemara Zevachim Daf Mem, and we're holding on the very top of Mem Amid Aleph. We are 3 lines from the top. We like all the learning once again to be an incredible schos. Refuah Shalema for Gavriel Simcha ben Miriam Ahuva. The infinite Koyach HaTorah should continue. Gavriel Simcha ben Miriam Ahuva on the road to recovery. B'siyata Dishmaya. We're holding 3 lines from the top as we quote the next piece of the Brisa, which says, Matan Arba Minayin Tamalay Markain Ya'aseh. From where do we know that on the Mizbeach HaPanimi, placing the dam on all 4 of the Kronos is integral? Said the Brisa, Kain Ya'aseh. Asks the Gemara, Maishna Matan Zayin. Why? What is special about Matan Zayin that made it an ikr, that required that, I made it an ikr, says Gemara, Ksvinan, Ukvilan, the fact that it says it, and then it repeats, Kein Yaseh, and therefore from there we learn out that it's something that has to be done. Says Gemara, Matan Dalinami, Kasvinan Ukvilan, it's the same thing. So why do we need this extra pasuk of Kein Yaseh, the same way the Torah wrote it by Matan Zayin, it wrote it by Matan Dalid, and therefore we shouldn't need an extra drasha. Amar Rav Yirmiyah, 5 lines down, Lo Nitzcha Ella, the Rav Shimon. Says Rav Yirmiyah, you're right. We only need it according to Shitas Rav Shimon de Tanya. Lemala Oimer Karen Kronos, above by the Kohen Gadol's Chatos, says the Torah, not Keren, but Kronos in the plural. From there we learn out by the Kohen Gadol, Shtayim Lemata. We learn out that has to be put on 2 of the Kronos of the Mizbeach. Lemata Oimer, below, what's below? That's by the Par Chatos. Par Elam Davar Shal Tzibor. By the power of the Tzibor, what does it say? Keren but Kronos. Doesn't say Keren, but it says Kronos. Arba. And therefore, from there we learn out another 2, equaling 4. So what do we see? We see that each of the dams from the extra, not Keren, but Kronos, 2 by the Kohen Gadol's Chatas Penimi, 2 by the Paralam David Shal Tzibor, teaches us 4 in total. Divi Rabbi Shimon. Rav Yehuda Omer Einay Tzarech Ari Omer Ba'al Ma'id, because it already says Ba'al Ma'id Al Kol Amor. Excuse me, because Ari Omer Be'Hoyal Ma'id. It says Ba'al Ma'id, and from there we learn out that Kol Amor Ba'al Ma'id, that all the dams should be placed like the oil ma'id, meaning in the oil ma'id in its entirety, meaning the chata, meaning the mizbeach hapanimi in its entirety, meaning at all 4 corners. So according to Rav Shimon, says the Gemara, we don't have a direct limud to the fact that 4 matan damim are necessary. And therefore, according to Rav Shimon, that's where we need Kein Ya'aseh. And if you look at Rashi, 3 lines into the narrow lines, Rashi really spells out this teretz. Rav Shimon learned that it's 2 above, 2 below, it's a kish. Aikra is kish. Par koin mashiach par elam davar. Davar, Ibarim Davar, Kamaran Lepar Zeb, Parkoin Mashiach, Helkach Elo, the Hadar Kaflinu, Lavi Kafulan. So, according to Rav Shimon, if we didn't have the extra Kein Yaseh, we wouldn't know that all 4 and all the 4 corners of the Mizbeach are essential, and without them, the carbon would not work. Continues the Gemara of Rav Yehuda, Kein Yaseh Mayavidle. So, you explain to me, Rav Shimon, what about Rav Yehuda? Says the Gemara, since we did not learn out about the par of Yom Kippur, the din of smicha, the din of the shirayim, that you have to pour the dam on the Yisrael Mizbeach. Minayin, where do we know? The par of Yom Kippur has both of these dinim, the din of smicha and the din of the shiari adam, tamalaymar. Says the Torah, Kein Yaseh. That's what Yehuda does with the pasuk. Ask the Gemara, Leparya Mikippurim Leila Manu. Do we not have a makar elsewhere for the par of Yom Kippur for smicha and shirayim amrit? But we said lepar And from there we learn now, it's a Yom Kippurim. So says the Gemara, you already knew these dinim. Answers the Gemara, it's because I would have thought, Hani Mili, Avoida, Dima Akva Kapara. I would have thought that the lipar that's equating the par of Yom Kippur to the par of Davar Shel Tzibor is only for that which is ma'akiv the kapara, only for that which is ikr. Aval avoida delay ma'akiv kapara, but avoidais that are not ma'akiv the kapara, like the ones that we're talking about, the smicha and the pouring of the shirayim, emaloi. I would think that we don't learn it out from the paral davar shel tzibor and would not be necessary. Kamash Malon. That's why we need this extra pasuk according to Yehuda of Kain Ya'aseh. So says the Gemara, okay, let's go back. Rav Shimon. So what does Rav Shimon do? Ayibal Mayid Mayavile. What does he need the Torah say? Bayal Mayid. What does he need the Hekish? Answers the Gemara, Bayal Mayid Mi Bayale Shem Nifchasa Tikra Shaleichol Lo Haya Mazeh. To teach us a different din, that if the tikra, if the roof of the eichel had a hole in it, then there was no allowance to do the hazaya, the sprinkling of the blood. From the fact that the Torah makes this extra be'oil mayid, shows us that it needs to be an oil. And if it's not an oil, it doesn't have a full roof, then the din of hazah would not happening of the par chatos penimi. Says the Gemara Vidach, what does Rav Yehuda say? Me asher Vidach and Rav Shimon asher loy darish, doesn't darshin that extra asher. Continues the Gemara. Abaye Amar. We're smack in the middle of the Amid right after the word darish. Abaye Amar comes like Abaye with the second teretz to the previous discussion, which is, why do we need a drasha? We start off today asking on the top of the Amid, Matan Araba Minayin, on the third line. And we learned it out from Kenya, said the Brisa said. So Abaye comes along to give another reason why we couldn't learn this from the fact that it was similar to Matan Dali, that it was the Kesivan Ukfilon. Says Abaye, you know why? Abaye Omar, says Abaye, the Rav Yehuda Nami Yitzrich, even according to Rav Yehuda, we need Kenya said, not only according to Rav Shimon. You know why? Because I would think that the din of putting the dam in the four corners is similar to smicha and the shiari adam. That what? Yet, loy ma'akva. So you would think as well, matan dalin nami loy titakev. You would think it's not as essential. Kamash Malon. Says the Torah, Kenya said that it is essential. And now we continue quoting the next part of the aforementioned brisa. Lepar zeh bar Yom Kippurim, says the Gemara. Lepar comes to teach us the par of Yom HaKippur. Lamayel chasa ila hakev pshita chuka kisivei. Of course, it's ma'akev. Says the Torah that it is a chayk. So of course it's ma'akiv. Amar Nachbar Yitzchak lein Yitzchak elo the Rav Yehuda da Amar kikasiva chuka advarim anasim a big day loving bifnim. Rav Yehuda learns that the word chuka in the Torah is teaching us how the Kohen Gadol performs that avodah in Yom Kippur, and that which says chuka teaches us it has to be done with the big day loving lefnai v'lefnim shem hektim ma'isa lachaveiroi lo'asav lo'iklam. And it shows us that if we did the avodah out of order, it would not work. Avol dvarim anasa big day lovin bachotz have different rules. Hektem ma'isa chaveiroi ma'asha asa asa asui. So if Yehuda learns that it's coming to teach us that you're right, that it would seemingly be pasha that it's ma'akiv because of chukah. But according to Yehuda, chukah teaches that it has to be done big day lavan, and it has a din of an avodah bifnim, which means it has to be done in the proper order. And if not, it would not work. So Ema says the Gemara, according to Yehuda, I would have thought mid kisidron loy ma'akvi hazoyos nami loy ma'akvei. Maybe since the order, when it's not in the Kedesh HaKadoshim is not ma'akev, so to the Zayis are not ma'akev. On that, Kamashmalan says the Torah lepar shows us that it's the same thing of Paral Davar Shal Tzibor, that it's ma'akev even though it's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Maskif la Rav Papa mimatzis amridachi as Rav Papa. Is this shayich? Can you tell me that according to Yehuda, you need this extra drasha to teach me these? This din is on the Par Yom Kippur. It's going to be, the dam is going to be essential. Vatanya, but says the Bryce, there were 6 lines to the bottom. Says the Bryce of Ikila Mechaper Es HaKodesh. Says the Torah when the Kohen Gadol finished the Avodah of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Im Kippur Kila. What does it show us? That if the Kohen Gadol did the regular kapara, the regular sprinklings, then Kila, then he's finished. But Im Lo Kippur, if not, Lo Kila, Divi Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva learns straight that the only way it's called Kila, the Avodah is done, is you get the kapara. Amar Lei Rav Yehuda, but comes Rav Yehuda and he says, Im Kila Kippur, Im Lo Kila Lo Kippur. Why should we not say that the pasuk tells us that only if you were Kila everything, then you get a kapara? I mean, Rav Akiva is darshaning this very interesting. Rav Akiva is darshaning that Im Kippur, then Kila. Says the Gemara, Shimamish Vakert. It should be Im Kila, then Kippur. Im Loi Kila, if you're not finished, then Loi Kippur. So according to Rav Yehuda, what do we see? We see that Rav Yehuda holds that Im Kila, everything, then Kippur. So according to Rav Yehuda, what do we see? We see that all the Avodas in Yom Kippur are Iker. So what's the Havamina? That we need a special limud for the Hazayos outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim to teach us that they're Iker. Amar Rav Papa, 2 lines to the bottom, Lanitzcha Ella. Says Rav Papa, you know what it's needed for? Ella, S, as the Torah says. Dam ubetvila. We need the drasha of Lepar to teach us that S and Ledam, that they as well, you have to dip the finger into the blood, meaning a unique prat in the halacha. As the Gemara now shows us, S, what do we learn out for the Amar Re'ako lo nitzcha ella lahachshir amin shebe etzba. If there are mins on the etzba, if there are blisters on the etzba, if the kohen has a blister on his finger, it's still going to be considered that he did the sprinkling from his finger, and it's still going to be kosher. Bidam, what does that teach us on the top line? Sheyu bidam shir tefila me'ikara. That the blood has to have enough to be toivel in it, to dip in it from the beginning when you catch it in the kli sharis. V'taval v'lo misapeg. You should dip it in, and then you should wipe the blood onto the finger. V'yitzrich lemichta v'dam v'dikas rachmana v'taval. I would have thought hava amina avagav deleka shir tefila not enough to dip into me'ikara. Because Rachmana bidam, because Rachmana bidam havamina, afilum bisapeg, that even if you just wipe the blood onto the finger, you can still do it. You don't have to actually dip it in. Because Rachmana v'taval. Continues the Braisa. Mizbeach ketayres samim lamali. That what? Shem loy nischanecha mizbeach v'ketayres samim loy haya mazeh. That the mazeh, the sprinkling, is only if the mizbeach is nitzchanech, has chinuch, is dedicated through the aktaras of the ketayres, and only afterwards could they do the sprinkling of the dam. So says the Gemara, this is the reason why we need the extra drasha. Says Rav Papa, that the S and the dam, that's what we need the drasha to teach us according to Rav Yehuda. Because you're right, that according to Rav Yehuda, all the avodas are integral. But the chiddush is that these S and bidam, that these are as well. Continues the Gemara. Let's bring a raya to Rav Papa. Tanya kavase to Rav Papa, which was the aforementioned shita over 10 lines down, memam and base. Va'asa kasher asa. Says the Torah, this is a pasuk by the Parel and Davar Shal Tzibur, that we see that we're having this hekish between that and the power of the Kohen Gadol, that he should do what he should do. Mat asked the Gemara, Mata Malaymer Lipar. Why does it say Lipar? L'Rabbis Par Yom Kippurim. Lakol Masha Amar Binyan. Everything that says by Pelam Davar Shel Tzibur, we're being marbe by the Par Yom Kippur Divrei Rebbe. Amar Rabbi Yishmael Kal V'Chaymer Uma B'Makom Shel Yehoshva Karban LeKarban. If in a place where not all karbanos are created equal, yet Hishra Maisim LeMaisim. Yet the Torah equated that the Maisa, the procedure that is done, is the same. What exactly it means, the Gemara is going to say in a moment. Makom shehoshver karban lekarban. Ain't oidein sheisha Maisa leMaisa. In a place that the karbanos are the same, does it not make sense that the procedure, that the Maisa should be the same? So says the Gemara, since we see that the par of Yom Kippur is the same as the par of Davar Shel Tzibur, they're both par and they're both bowls, therefore, whatever is done by the par of Davar Shel Tzibur should be done by the par Yom Kippurim. Therefore, the kasha is Alamata Malamer Lipar, Zepar Davar Shel Tzibur. Lipar, Zepar, Koyin Mashiach. So says the Gemara, what do we see? We see just like Rav Papa. We see, just like Rav Papa said that the S and the Dam are to extend it, that the Dinim are going to be the same by the Par Yom HaKippurim. But now, the Brisa just came along and made a hekish and taught us that we're learning out the Par Yom Kippur for the Par Helam Davar, but didn't tell us how. So Amar Mar, let's dive a little bit deeper. 13 lines to the bottom. The first one is Zepar. What did the Brisa just teach us? Carbon. Says the Gemara, Milo Hushvu Carbon Carbon. What does that mean? If you're going to tell me that those carbonos are not the same, but maybe they are unique. Why? Because the dam has to go lefnai v'lefnim, and therefore we can't learn out the par of the kohen gadol because it's not the same. Says Gemara, no, because they could be. It could prove to us mitzvahs yodua, and therefore we could learn out from it. Says the Gemara. So what are we going to say? We're going to say that what is the case that the karbanos are not the same, yet the avodas are the same. That's the parallel of Shel Sibur and the Sir of Yom Kippur Vachikamar. 4 lines at the bottom. Carbon in a place where the karbanos are not the same. Why? This is a Sir of Yom Kippur, a goat, and this is a par Elam Davar Shel Sibur. Yet Hoshu Maisin Lemaisin, their actions, the procedures are the same. Lemaidir Kasiv Bu, that which it says by them. So Makom Shoshu Carbon the Carbon. So now in a place where the karbanos are the same, by the Chatos the Kohen Gadol, by the Yom Kippurim Chatos, Taipar Vaipar, Ein Oidin, is it not Pashet that what? As we turn over, well, we don't have Memalaf, and let's read the words. Shoshu Maisim Lemaisim, Vasei Par Yom Kippurim, Le'es and Bedam, Utfilim Mipar Kohen Mashiach, Vasei Le'sir Yom Kippurim, Yisir Zevachim, Mikal v'chaymer. Stop over here. We'll pick it up from this drush at the top of Memalaf Amid Aleph. B'siyata Dishmai.